Okay, brand new unit of study, regretting moonlight rarity. That would be a rarity indeed to see a silhouette of a cow in front of a full moon. And of course, we would regret if we were not able to see that rarity more. Oh, wait, that's not what we're studying. What are we studying instead? Oh, we are going to study right triangle trigonometry for this unit. Now, as much fun as that cow and a full moon would have been, we'll take a look at right triangles instead. Right? So our goal here for this very first unit is to be able to use the Pythagorean theorem. Right? Now we better start by talking about some of the real basics of the bunch. I've got to have a right triangle, so notice I've got a 90-degree angle there at angle C. Capital letters for the angles, lowercase letters for the sides. And normally, it's not required, but normally we're going to call the right angle, the 90-degree angle, C. Longest side of the bunch is the hypotenuse. Notice that the hypotenuse is going to be across from the right angle, so even if I decide to use some other weird letters, hypotenuse is still going to be across from the right angle. And then the other two sides we'll call the legs. They share a vertex at the right angle. So, the Pythagorean theorem. What exactly does the Pythagorean theorem state? Well, if I get a right triangle, and I've got legs A and B, and hypotenuse C, we know that the hypotenuse, if we square that, is equal to the sum of the squares of the lengths of the legs. Right, so we've got to be able to use this in Algebra 2. Thank goodness we're here in Algebra 2. And we'll build some more upon this in pre-calculus. And then for those of you that fall onto calculus, guess what? It's still not going to go away. So let's find the exact value of the missing side of each right triangle. All right. Well, what side am I missing? I'm missing the hypotenuse. Now, A and B are interchangeable. So I can call either one of those legs A, I can call either one of them B. Right? So 6 squared plus 8 squared will be the hypotenuse squared. 6 times 6 is 36. 8 times 8 is 64. Let's add those together. And, oh, hey, 100, that seems really big. Oh, that's C squared. I just want C. I better take the square root of 100. That's 10. So the missing side of that triangle is going to be 10. Okay, here's another right triangle. And it looks like this time I do have the hypotenuse, right? So the hypotenuse, C, is going to be 7. And then 3, I can use that for either A or B, right? Take your pick. They're interchangeable. 3 times 3, of course, is 9. 7 times 7, of course, is 49. Let's subtract 9 from each side. And then I got to take the square root. Now, on the IXL assignment today, you'll notice that I've only got you needing to go up to a score of 40. Usually I have you go up to a score of 80. Because in the IXL, they're going to ask you to take out a calculator and punch buttons and try to come up with a decimal approximation. Here I'm asking for an exact value. So I gotta ask myself, well, what is the largest perfect square that's a factor of 40? And 4 is a perfect square. It is a factor of 40, and in fact, it's the largest perfect square that's a factor of 40. So I take the square root of 40, change it into square root of 4 times the square root of 10. Square root of 4 is 2. Square root of 10, I'm stuck with that value. So that's my solution. Hey, this looks like fun. And again, notice every time I start by writing a squared plus b squared equals c squared. It looks like I'm missing one of the legs. Now, when I square these, the square root of 37 is easy, right? Square root of 37 squared, square root and square just cancel each other. I get 37. A little sneakier to do the 2 root 3, because I know root 3 times root 3 would just get me a 3, but I also have that 2 in there to play with. So I got to remember that when I'm squaring it, I really have to do 2 times 2, which will get me a 4, and then I do a square root of 3 times the square root of 3, which will give me a 3. And 4 times 3 is 12. Notice I didn't try to grab a calculator because I don't want to get some weird decimals and then try to have them round off. Right, if you do 2 times square root of 3 and then square that, you got to make sure that you keep using the full decimal amount in your calculator. Subtract 12 from each side. Square root of 25 is going to be our answer. And hey, how lucky can you get? Square root of 5 is just 5. Now, how am I going to squeeze another example in there? I don't think so. Oh, hey, what if we knew the 3 sides of a triangle, but didn't know if it was a right triangle? Ooh, the inequalities theorem. Okay, so if I got triangle ABC, and I know C is the longest side, I don't necessarily know it's the hypotenuse, but I know it's the longest side. If C squared is too small, it's an acute triangle. Right? If C squared is too big, it's an obtuse triangle. Right? So I also want to concentrate on C squared. If C squared equals A squared plus B squared, it's a right angle. But if C squared is too small, if it's less than that sum, it's acute. If C squared is too big, right, so C squared greater than A squared plus B squared, then it's an obtuse triangle. So let's classify each triangle by its sides. Well, let's do A squared plus B squared, and I get 89. Now, let's go take a look at C squared. C squared is 100. Uh-oh, C squared is too big. So if I only have its sides, I can declare, since C squared is too large, that it's an obtuse triangle. Let's get another set of sides here. Okay, again, what is A squared plus B squared? Well, let's plug in the 7 and the 9. 130. What is C squared? Let's see, what is 10 squared? Oh my goodness, what a shock, it's 100 again. Hey, this time 100 is too small. C squared is too small. So what kind of angles are the small ones? Those are the acute. So we're looking at an acute triangle there. Well, I wonder what this next example is going to be. We've had an obtuse triangle, an acute triangle. I wonder what this one's going to be. Well, again, let's figure out a squared plus b squared. Well, 20 times 20 is 400. 21 times 21, 441. What is c squared? Well, let's see, 29 squared. I'm going to come up with 881. Look at that. It's a perfect match. C squared is just right, so it's a right triangle. Right? Isn't that just really, really awesome? I thought it was awesome also. Oh, here comes a cool one. 6, 7, and then 2 times the square root of 21. That's not going to fit here, right? It's not going to fit. Let's get a new slide. Now, if you're wondering what side is the largest, square root of 21 is actually larger than 4. And of course, 2 times 4 is 8. So 2 times the square root of 21 is more than 8, so that is the largest side. So let's figure out a squared plus b squared, also known as 6 squared plus 7 squared, also known as 36 plus 49, also known as 85. What is c squared? Now remember, I have to square that entire value. So I've got a 2 root 21 times another 2 root 21. And of course, 2 times 2 is going to make a 4. Square root of 21 times square root of 21 comes out as just 21. 84. Ooh, close, but not quite. Right? 84 is less than 85. So c squared is too small. And so it is an acute triangle. 9, 40, and 41. Well, 9 times 9 is 81. 40 times 40, 1,600. Add those together, 1,681. How about 41? What is 41? Well, 41 times 41 is 1,681. Oh my goodness, can you believe that? Those are equal. Right? So it's a right triangle, right? Perfect, perfect, perfect match. And how am I going to fit another example in here? This is crazy. Maybe if I get a new page up. Now we're just going to advertise that there's a worksheet today. And again, the goal for IXL today is 40. Right? After a while, you'll just get really, really tired of pushing buttons on a calculator, because IXL is going to ask you to round off some of the answers to the nearest tenth, right? Some of the answers come out perfect, and some of them are decimal approximations. And so the first few questions are pretty straightforward. You're looking for a missing side. When you get to the word questions, be careful with the wording, because sometimes one of the numbers they give you actually is the hypotenuse of the right triangle. Sometimes it's not, so you might even want to have to, I don't know, draw a picture for some of the word questions. But at any rate, worksheet, and then IXL. But again, IXL, just get to a score of 40, and then you'd have full credit for the assignment.